From the National Museum of African American Music in Nashville, Tennessee, this is Just Conversations, presented by the Metro Human Relations Commission.
Welcome to this episode of Just Conversations on inequities in the food industry. We are filming at the National Museum of African American Music. I'm your host, Louisa Shafia, and I'll let our panelists introduce themselves.
I'm Lokelani, Alabanza, the owner of Saturated, and I'm really excited about this conversation.
I'm Keshia, private chef of Sip and Bite, and I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
So I am so excited to speak with both of you on this topic of inequities in the food industry. Loki, you are an ice cream maker and a trained pastry chef. And Keshia, you have worked in restaurants, and these days you mostly do private chefing. Mm-hmm. I'm very interested to hear what patterns you have noticed in the food industry, in the various roles that you've played.
Keshia, do you want to start?
Oh, sure. I'll break the ice. Yeah, I mean, so I've been in restaurants since I was 15, and I guess it wasn't one of those things that I really noticed. Being young, you're just kind of in there, just really wanted to get a paycheck at that point. And then as I got older, going through college, I got a full-time job, but I went there to do bar. I had gone to bartending school first, and then I got placed, which was really great because I wanted to go the route of not having to work at midnight, slinging drinks. I wanted to do more of an efficient where I could get benefits. And so, I was bartending there, but I had to do service first. And there were very few of us working.
And when you say us,
us, I mean African Americans.
Okay.
I mean, and the club is over 100 years old now at this point. And, to be behind the bar was a big deal because I was one of the first. And I say that kind of loosely because, the bar position was pretty much held by white male. And that was just kind of it. That's who ran the bar. They had several bar positions, daytime, nighttime, and during the day in the men's grill where there were no women allowed, I got eventually promoted to be day bartender, which was actually a first to be a female behind the bar during the daytime and an African-American female.
Wow.
So that was really interesting. And I don't think they necessarily saw it like that. And then kind of going from that, just kind of bopping through other restaurant situations, you definitely do see, and I'm saying more like on a service role instead of back of the house, I'm thinking front of the house. There are definitely some inconsistencies as to how many actual, people of us that are scheduled on the floor or hired, and then the type of interactions you have not only with your higher ups and your coworkers, but guests that'll come into the restaurant. There was one place that I worked at, it was mostly breakfast brunch place, and for the most part, the clientele that would come in were really nice, but it was in Brentwood and Williamson County. It's conservative, highly conservative base. There was one couple that came in, and I greeted them like I greet everyone else, and made sure to be very attentive. And it's almost, you feel this added pressure of having to go beyond. Like, I can't just stand around. I can't just, only know so much about whatever the food, even if it is just breakfast. And I remember being just overtly nice, and that wasn't enough for them. And so at the end of the meal, they were cordial. And, we took the cash payment at the table, and they left me no tip. And they had decided to tell our host, they were like, when did we start getting so much color? And on the floor. And I didn't know this until the hostess came to me and told me. She was like, I just want you to know this is what happened. And that was probably one of my very first actual, like, blatant in my face, but not in my face interactions of, like, oh my God, this has never happened before. Like, you didn't tip me just because I'm a Black woman on serving. So, and then just kind of going.
I just want to ask you, what year was that?
This was, I want to say,
Ish.
2012, 2013.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago. And it took me down a couple of notches. But then I also realized, I'm like, you know what? Like, this is probably going to be the case scenario for most places that I go to, being one of very few on the staff. And, moving along to, another restaurant position where I served, I had somewhat of a similar situation. And in that instance, eventually they let me go. And they never gave me an explanation as to why. They claimed that their restaurant was moving in a different direction. And, Tennessee, you can fire for any particular reason. But I felt like there was a combination of things, between your manner as to how you're supposed to come into work. I wasn't one of those who just sucked up to the chef or to the other staff or anything like that. I just come in friendly, do my job, would come in early, set up everyone's stations, would bring food to my coworkers, and it just was never enough. And it was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to keep being me. But it was really sad. It was just, through that time frame of being in and out of restaurants, it was very blatant as to what was happening without them saying it out loud.
That is very painful. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you definitely recognized clear patterns that were repeated for you throughout that part of your career. Yes. Lokelani. Sorry, you're my friend, so I want to call you by your nickname. As someone that came to Nashville not that long ago, who's worked in different countries and different states, I'm curious what your observations have been and what patterns you've noticed.
Oh, I mean, it's always been there. I've been in it. I think I'm probably one of the few people that I know that has been in the industry my entire adult life. So it started out about 18, my first job in Europe, and which is fine, it's Europe. So you're in a specific environment, but everyone was always very lovely. And then I got back to the States. It was when I got to culinary school and I realized me and two other people were the only Black people. And, I'm in Vermont. And so it was like, okay, the industry for me it wasn't the lack of color per se, which was obvious. It was very male dominant. There were not a lot of women. So when I was growing up and I decided that I wanted to be in the industry, I thought I want to see myself on TV because I loved Julia Child and I loved Yan Can Cook and I loved, great chefs of the world, but no one looked like I did. So I thought I want to be in this and there's female and I happen to be Black, right? So this is great. I can see my mom and my grandma in the kitchen. We can all be on TV. But when you got into the industry, it wasn't like that at all. And so even in culinary school, and I remember I was trying to go to Paris on this internship because I knew if I knew anything, I was good. I was good at what I was doing and I was very focused and determined. And I remember being in a room. It was white males and they were having a discussion in front of me about how I couldn't go to Paris because they didn't know if I had my attitude was so specific or if I was going to be okay with how the French would be with me in the kitchen, but not discussing it to me, it was at me. And so I remember that. And that sort of sat with me. And then I decided that I want to be in control of my own destiny. But as I hopped around kitchens, when I tell people in other interviews, I grew up in kitchens, not meaning that my family had a kitchen, but more so my foundation has been in kitchens since the beginning. Males. I was always the only person of color. I was in the pastry realm. It was just how it's been. We keep going. There's no one else to really talk to.
So you were not only the only woman, but
basically.
Also the only Black person in the kitchen.
Like all the time. Like this was just, except for pastry. Pastry became, a very, female women eccentric, spot. But no, I'd look around. I'm like, oh, well, this is normal, and this goes on. And this is in LA. Los Angeles is a melting pot, right? But also everyone behind was a person of color. Everyone up front was not. So that's just how it had been for so many years. I mean, I spent 8 years in California, and then I would leave and go on this crazy wild adventure. And so it was still the same little thing popping up that I was always, my face was a singular face in a kitchen. So I became accustomed to that. And so when I moved to the South, and then I saw that change when I got to one of the boutique hotels, I will not name any names, boutique hotels here in the city, I had never seen so many Black faces before. And that for me, for the first time, was like mind blowing, because I thought, oh, I'm not the only person here. So that changed a lot. But also, no, it's been the same. It's there. It's very specific. And we could go on, like, we don't have enough time to like tap into all the other, but that's like the overall aspect, was that I came up, and we're about 5 or 6 years apart, Keshia and I came up in a time where it was still misogynistic. Like, it was still male dominant. It was still about power, which everyone got called out in the last year, basically. So, and still, but I grew up in that community where it was okay to have someone throw something towards you, or have a chef flirt with you while they're trying to hire you. Like, these are normal things, quote. But that was a different generation. And so now seeing what the food industry has become and how individualized it is, and people are pivoting, it's a whole new world. But that's part of my journey up until this part.
Yes, that is so interesting. Okay, so we have talked about what you've seen in restaurants, and now both of you are entrepreneurs. You have your own businesses, and I'm curious what you're noticing in that realm, because you've struck out on your own with your own ice cream brand, and you do events and pop-ups, and you make products. So it's a different playing field. So I'm curious how that plays out. If it's different, if it's the same.
It's the same but different. It's
Right?
different in a different way, because I didn't know it took so long to raise money. And then I realized people don't want to give money to Black-owned businesses. That's an issue, even if they like you or they like your product. And so that for me was really eye-opening, because I know what it's like to give my time and effort to a company that didn't support me fully in the end, right? And the best thing for me was to be let go and find my own way. And everything lined up the way that it was supposed to. But it's a really interesting place, and I still feel community is responsible as well. And it's trying to connect and support everyone around you. So I am very fortunate, because Keshia and I are very, very close. She's like a sister and family. And we have a third friend who, to have 2 other Black females that are building their dreams, and you have that safe space to go to have that talk, or just, it's always about collaboration. It's always about connecting and trying to support the other. So how do you succeed without the others coming along with you, or vice versa? So it's still there, but it comes in a different form now. Whereas I'm not in a kitchen feeling like an island. I'm out here representing what I feel is a representation of myself and my brand, with the support of others. But how can there be more spotlight on what we're doing? Because Nashville's growing so quickly.
So fast. And it's such a food mecca. And there's
It's
so
such a
much
food
attention
mecca.
on this city. Yeah.
So much attention. And a lot of attention is on food. Like, people come here for food. And they come here for other things I don't understand. But those are other conversations. But people need to know, not about the top tier, but what's underneath it, because there's so much. And we have this discussion like all the time.
It's all the time. I mean, even just like venturing out, when I took the leap, it was coming from a restaurant where I was, at this point positioned back at the house. And, before I had obtained that job, I was private chefing, not full time, but just, it was, we all had side hustles. And that was my focused side hustle. And I knew, that's what I was going to be doing. And when I got asked to be brought onto this job, I said, hey, listen, this takes priority for me. And okay, great, that's fine. We can make it work, whatever. I'm working under 2 males. One happened to be African American, and the other, the executive sous chef, was Caucasian, but still, again, male dominated. They kind of brought us in under the guise of, everybody has a say, everybody has a voice here. We want to be the answer to whatever difficulties are going on. We want to make sure that we can fill in the blanks for you, make this, about work-life balance. And then, you get into the kitchen and, it didn't take very long to understand, no, your voice didn't matter. And literally being the only Black female behind the line, to have an opinion was just like, I can't believe you said that. And it's like, well, you said, say something, see something, say something, right? And, or if I have creative input, not to kind of brush me off of it as if it was like not a big deal, but then you go and do it later, or not take opinions or options, and always, again, seen as having an attitude when you do want to stand up for yourself. And so, that was, I had decided at that point, or honestly before that, I was like, you know what? I'm meant to work for myself. I'm going to do this.
So that was
that
part
was
of the impetus for you.
It was
doing your own thing.
It was, and understanding, like, I don't need to have to ask permission or have to have this approval from whoever the higher ups are, or the people at B. I have to really rely on my gut and know that I've already built up, a small community of clients and friends and collaborators to know that I can do this. And so then taking that leap, I wouldn't say was like the most easiest transitions. It was scary. It was scary because, still very much a very small fish in what we call Nashville big waters when it comes to food, because there's so many restaurants, so many things happening, chefs moving in and out of here, chefs that have decided they want to come out of the restaurant scene and go private. So there was competition. And a lot of the competition still was white male dominated. And it was one of those things like, how do I find my way? How do I find my own way without having to, be under the guise of, I have to join this association or this program in order to get recognized, or, I have to know this person in order to get to the next step. And it was like, no, I need to just do this, not necessarily on my own, but just have, faith in the universe that my path is being carved out and that I will meet the right people. And over time, that's what happened, formulating these friendships and these bonds, having accountability buddies, and especially during the time of COVID, when everything literally shut down. In my mind, like I was having the conversation with Loki and our other friend Rhonda, was like, this is the moment where everyone is kneecapped at the same time, and it is now you have to really prove what it is that you want to do, and you have to make that work, because if you don't, you're not going to survive any of this. I don't care who you are with whatever marquee is on these restaurant groups, or whatever restaurants are out here, like, it doesn't matter. If you don't have talent, or if you don't have the passion for it, it's going to come through during the worst time, you know what I mean? And so
yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, it just, but again, we're still kind of treading in jello. It's like, you would have thought all of that had happened last year with not just COVID, but tornado, everybody wanting to come together and support, that there would be more emphasis then on more independent, smaller, entrepreneurs not associated with this brand and that brand. But we're still trying to convince, in a sense, people to like, hey, like, we deserve just as much recognition as this person coming in, opening up 4 restaurants literally in 2 years. Like, how does that happen? So
you feel like the community that you've created together is what has really strengthened you and 100%. Pulled you through this time.
Yes. I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
Because if not, there would not be a Saturated if there wasn't a community that came out, I tell the story that I didn't want to leave my house. We all knew this for like months. I received an ice cream machine on my doorstep. And then I talked to Rhonda, our friend Rhonda, and she said, "You get the ice cream machine?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, we're doing a pop-up." And I was like, "As long as I don't have to go inside." I do the work to get the product out there. And people I've known for 6 years of being here that I haven't seen in years, not because of COVID, like I just haven't seen over the course of time, they had showed up. And that was overwhelming.
That's
I mean, it still
beautiful.
makes me emotional to think about that. I thought, no one's going to buy this 100 cups that I have. It's going to take me months to sell out. But it wasn't. It was who we are, right? As people, right? That's why people come. They come because of your personality, because of how they're drawn to you as a person. And so then you happen to have this product that they want to come and support. And that is what it's worth, right? It's worth all the time and the effort and the thought process and the work behind it. But like Keshia said, they're really talented people here in the city.
That's what I want to ask you all about is what are people missing? You're saying that there's this really thriving community of people that just aren't getting noticed that really should be.
I feel like they're just missing the creative backbone that made Nashville so special in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, like we're not just known for music, you know, albeit food, you know, kind of started to take precedent, about 10 years ago, just slowly weeding out the corporate, you know, the chain restaurants. And like we had a whole Nashville Originals list of just people that are really showcasing, you know, whatever it is from their background, their family's traditions, you know, and having that in a restaurant setting. And a lot of those restaurants have not survived, unfortunately. And so you've got these, you know, people that have kind of been, you know, in the communities that are not suburban or necessarily urban communities, you know, that have this beautiful talent, but they're struggling. And then when they want to, you know, put a dollar price on it, they're being second guessed. You know, like, I don't know if it's too expensive, but then you literally get someone to come in, see and enjoy that same cuisine, and then take it and put it in a restaurant, and they charge 50% more. Right. And people are falling all over themselves. But I'm just like, wait, huh? Like,
so who are some people who should be recognized for the excellent food or interesting food that they're making who haven't been up till now? Let's get some specifics.
I love, and her name's Eunice. She does these amazing empanadas. She's been doing them for years. She's been at farmers markets. I don't know if she's doing them anymore, but like, because that was another thing. The farmers markets were a big introduction for a lot of local, small, creative talent that just wanted to get out there with, you know, if it was like one singular thing or whatnot. But she's amazing. Mama Yang's with their dumplings are fabulous. And she just did a pop-up with Rhonda on Sunday.
Does anyone come to mind for you?
Maybe. Nashville. What is her? I can never remember the last.
Nashville Sweets.
Is it No, it's got it.
Oh
God, Mamie's the best.
She is the best.
Is this incredibly like classically trained pastry chef,
and no one would ever know.
But she's like really into gardening and farming, and she has this beautiful kitchen at her house. And
okay, we're gonna look this up after, and they'll put a note with this video.
So gifted, and she belongs in that spot. You know, she deserves a bakery. You know, all these things, and so
she should be getting the glory.
Yes. Yeah, she's really, really phenomenal, and she's a person of color. Like, I mean, you know, and so it's she's got that talent, and she's worked on several people's cookbooks. You know, like and she does beautiful work, and so those are the things that I think those little voices, they're not little voices, they're big voices, but they're not being heard because it's being covered by others, you know, which is hard. I mean, Mariah's amazing. She's got Radical Rabbit, and she works really
Radical Rabbit
hard.
Okay.
I mean, she's at that market. I've seen her walking into Hunter Station to prep, you know, every day. I mean, that's a lot of work. You both know, we know, like it's a lot of manual labor to get something done.
With Afro Vitality Eats. She's in Spring Hill, but she does West African cuisine, and she does all of her own photographs, like does her own blog. It just Her jollof rice, I dream about it every day. I have
that
told
sounds so
her
good.
I need it in my life at least once a week, every single for everything. But not a lot of people know about her in Nashville. She's had maybe one write-up in a local publication, which the local publications are really big. They do really big no-nos on not giving enough spotlight.
So
and they're big culprits of that.
So they should be made aware that there is a thriving scene
I think
that
they've
either
been
they
made-
haven't seen or they haven't
they
called
they
out.
know, they're aware, they've seen it, and yet they still highlight the same people all the time.
Yeah.
We've talked several times about how, and we know, I feel all the people that we know are pretty interconnected and interwoven, and we still talk about how there should still be a spotlight on Nashville's like female woman scene, women chefs that are here, no matter what you look like, what your background is, just the amount of work that all of these women are doing, because it's true. COVID hit. COVID has changed everything for the future, period, right? So a lot of people had to pivot, and the pivoting has changed the course of food, the course of the industry. And so everyone just started saying, well, F it, I'm going to start making my own thing, And so there's so many people out there right now, and it would be just so lovely just to know their names, to know if we're all in the same room together.
Okay,
to
so if any
introduce each
journalists
other.
watch this episode, here's a great story idea for you.
To just introduce, everyone, because we're all part of the same quilt, right?
Yes.
We're all trying to thread together and make this one thing and make Nashville not just this place that you're coming to for a long weekend or a bachelorette party, but like you can fundamentally be fed in a different way, And so that's what it is. It's over just the course of time. I mean, it took 6 years. I got here 6 years ago. When I got here 6 years, I knew no one. And then I am blown away to know that I can sit here today and talk about my experience, or that I started a company, or the people that I know. I mean, you're asking us questions, but you. I mean, you.
I'm doing it too.
She's doing
I love
it.
food.
And you've taught me so much about, the cuisine, Iranian cuisine and Persian flavor, and, which has expanded my life. So all of these things expand one another, but
we make it a richer, more
we do.
interesting city with all our layers that we bring to it. Not just the big
and the
restaurant
theme of
marquee names.
Especially with the women here, it's been community over competition. And I feel like there are more of us that are here to bolster each other than to break each other down, thankfully. Because without that, it's like none of us would be able to make it, to be honest. None of us. It's like at this point, it's like we don't need the male approval and the culinary.
Oh, yeah. No, that's gone.
Whatever.
Those days
That's
are gone.
out the window.
Yeah.
Do you think the pandemic helped burn that down? Do you feel like Black Lives Matter?
I feel like it was a combination of some things.
I think
it's still struggling. But.
Yeah, I can't answer that question fully right now.
Okay. We only have a minute
I'm not
left.
there yet to answer that question fully. I still have disappointment.
Yes.
In certain people and communities, but overall, what it taught me as an individual, because I cannot speak for anybody else, right? You only speak about your own personal odyssey that you're on, is that you have to trust your gut and you have to surround yourself with other people. So I remember my AP English teacher, Mr. Eichelberry, said to me, you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas, right? And I thought you have to surround yourself with people that are going to help you thrive. And that's what I've tried so hard to do, no matter what the consequence is, right? In the end, it's really, you have to figure out what you want out of it. And so that's what we were saying about before, is if people knew that there's a top shelf, but underneath is what makes it so rich and exciting being here in Nashville, is going to places and eating your food when you're doing your thing, when she's doing her thing. And, Keshia does these amazing secret garden pop-ups and they're so perfectly curated and everything has thought out.
That name is so intriguing.
Yeah, which is so Keshia. Like it's, it's so Keshia. Florals, all these things. It smells good. It looks good.
So unique.
Crazy person with all the details.
Yes. And so those are beautiful experiences, and things that you're doing are beautiful experiences. And I try to make, you know, a nostalgic experience for people and to try to teach them something about Southern flavors and, you know, Black ice cream history and all these things in one little bite of ice cream, right? So everybody's trying to make a difference of some
I'm trying
sort.
to tell a story.
Yeah, that's it.
And, you know, at the end of the day, just making an impact. And if it's something that, you know, brightens someone day or moves them or teaches them something new, then we know we've done our job.
Yeah.
You know?
Ladies, I hope we get to continue this conversation because this is so rich. And what it tells everyone is that there's so much here in Nashville that is undiscovered and special here to Nashville.
Yeah.
That you really can't get anywhere else. And there's a lot of room and a lot of untold stories.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, well, hopefully to be continued. And you're going to get your television show. I'm going to end with that. I would like to thank our panelists for a great discussion, as well as the National Museum of African American Music for hosting us. Thank you for tuning into this Just Conversations episode on inequities in the food world. And to see other Just Conversations episodes, please visit www.justconversations.org.